Well, again, this is Sean Hagen's Investigate Photo, and this is part two of my video about photography sales tips, how you can make money being a photographer. Now, again, these are only my suggestions. I'm not. I would never even attempt to say that this is going to work for everybody. I might have just. I've been very fortunate with this, and I'm not going to say that I'm not an entrepreneur or anything like that. I'm not going to say that I know all the answers, and these things will definitely work. They work for me, but again, I can't speak for everyone else. So I talked about selling on site. I talked about not editing. I talked about not spraying and praying. Now the next point is this. Okay, now let's face it. If you're gonna be selling photos, and making money on them, you have to go to what will sell. So from my experience, at least, I say, again, now. Well, I'm talking about the tournaments, especially. Now, for high schools and stuff like that, I'm hired by not usually sometimes the school, but mostly the parents' committee or whatever. And the parents could, it could be a parent of any sport or whatever. That's fine. But with the tournaments where we're selling on site and it depends on our sales there, I would say only shoot girl sports, and I would tell you why. So, I've done some like when I first started, like 15 years ago or more now, I did some boys sports and girls sports. You tell boys, hey, the photos that we're taking today, you can find them on our monitors, right in the hallway. We'll have a whole string of monitors with laptops, and you can see yourself and your photos. Most of the boys are going to be like, yeah, well, whatever, and so again, the girls, conversely, the girls are gonna be all over that. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's cool," and they'll go see it. You think about, and again, this isn't a stereotype. I don't mean any offense by this, but when I see like young ones taking selfies and stuff like that, it's usually girls. Just in general when I'm around. So again, girls are more into photos than boys are. Now, I was an oddball because when I was a kid, and this is back in the days of film, I loved photos. I love photography. I love taking photos, but I liked being in photos too. Not that I was like a photo hog or anything like that, but I liked being in photos. If people wanted to take a photo of me, I was great about that. Now, most of my guy friends, and actually, well, I only really had one real girlfriend. I mean, a girl that was a really close friend, but she was kind of she hung around with the guys, so she was more of a tomboy, as it were, but they hated having their photos taken. Even like I remember growing up, like as a kid with my friends, I'd like to take their photos, and they would run away from me. And like their parents were trying to take photos, they'd run away from them. I loved it, But anyway, going back to that, like I said, so only shoot girls sports for that reason. And when it comes down to it, and again with the youth sports that we shoot, they're usually I guess maybe between 11 and 18, but usually the younger, well, I'll get to that later, but they're usually really young, so it's usually the parents spending the money. But still, okay, when it comes down to stuff that parents are going to buy for their kids, or they're going to buy, there are some parents, especially moms again, who, they want, and even dads with some sports, they want to have like memories of their kid playing sports. So it doesn't matter if the boy wants it or not, or the girl wants it or not, they're going to buy it. But okay, when the parents are on the fence and they're like, well, I'll buy that for my kid if they want it, we have, again, with volleyball, again, I don't do most of the sales now, I'm doing the shooting, but way back in the day, I did some of the sales because I had shooters that didn't mind shooting volleyball and such, and even now I can do that, but I do more shooting. But anyway, my people tell me that, again, it's the girls that are like, mommy, buy this, mommy, buy this, then they'll buy it, But if the parents are asking their kid, hey, do you want these photos? And they're like, yeah, whatever. Then the parents might say, well, okay, he doesn't really want them, so we don't have to buy them. So again, that's why I say shoot girls sports. When we do girls volleyball, we do dance competitions, all of those sports. The girls are our allies, as it were. They're the ones making the sale, as it were. As long as they know that that we have the monitor and we have everything, and they can get their parents there. They're the ones who push the sales for us. So that's what you got to do. So don't script. Okay. So I mentioned don't sell online. So that goes off with what I said about selling on site. Selling online, a couple reasons. One, honestly, you're not going to make a lot, at least from what I've seen. And I'll tell you the transition that we went to. And that's actually not something that I learned. I had a guy my assistant manager. Okay, so I mentioned Tara, who was my assistant manager when we did the commercials. Before her, my assistant manager was David Wu, and he was the computer guy. He knew about computers and stuff like that. He was the one that recommended selling on site, actually, because he knew how to hook up the computer and the monitor to sell on site. At the time, I didn't know how to do that. But anyway, so we went from selling on site, online, which, I didn't really make all that much. Then he recommended, because he was shooting with me, he wasn't selling. He was like, hey, you know what, why don't we just sell on site here? And I'll bet that if we tell the kids and they have the instant gratification of seeing the photos and buying them, we'll make a lot more money. And we did. We made literally probably 8 to 10 times as much. And then from there, this is like around 2005 or 6 when we started doing that. So I was printing the photo. We lugged the printer and we would print the photos, and we did okay. But even back then, we had the option. Kids would always ask, well, hey, can we just have the file? We want to put them on Facebook or I guess MySpace back then or whatever it was back then. And like, oh yeah, sure. So we started burning CDs. Then we'd burn DVDs because we sell team packages and they wouldn't all fit on the 700 megabyte CD. So we'd burn DVDs. And then from there, and this was a transition for me because I don't like to spend a lot of money and the CDs were really cheap. But I started putting them on flash drives. And I would buy the flash drives in bulk so they'd be cheaper, but they're still a little more expensive than CDs. But it's faster. Burning a CD takes a lot of time. And then, of course, as time went on, laptops and devices, they didn't even have a CD drive anymore, But so we'd put them on flash drives. That would be fine. Now, so again, I had David, he worked with me for about 4 or 5 years. Then I had Tara, she worked with me for about 4 or 5 years. Then, but now I have my assistant manager's name is Jeremy, and he's the smartphone guy, he knows all that stuff. So we're actually uploading the photos directly to phones and stuff like that. Now we still put them on flash drives too if they want them, but that's something that's more, and that's actually a lot cheaper for me too because I don't have to buy the flash drives. He just uploads them to their phones. Now, Next point, have a good rapport with your tournament directors. Like I said, I pay a vendor fee. I said this in part 1. I pay a vendor fee, and that lets me be at the event and be the official photographer for the event. Having a good rapport with them, because they need to also be part of the contract is that they have to advertise our work. So when they're giving out the welcome packet to whatever to the teams or the whatever, they also mention, hey, SJH Photo is going to be there, they're going to be selling on site, blah 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 blah, and I have a little file that I send to them that they just have to forward. A lot of them they'll forget, so you have to kindly remind them, even though it's in the contract. But I would still say, rather than being a jerk and saying, hey, they're in the contract, what's the matter with you? Just say, hey, please don't forget to do this. Just gently remind them, be nice, be kind. It makes things go a lot smoother. And also, it's always good to be nice. So having a rapport. Okay. Now, I mentioned also not offering prints. There's another bullet point, but I'm going to do that in part 3 because it might take a little while and I'm nearing the 10-minute mark already. I talk a lot, don't I? Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay, so here's another thing. The photos, they need to be good enough. What that means is they need to be in focus, the ball should be in frame, a good expression of the kid, but they don't have to be magazine quality, okay? Like I said, don't spray and pray. Don't chimp, which is looking back at the photos and deleting and going back to doing that, because it's a waste of time and the game's going on. You don't really have time to do that. But also, don't be so shy of taking a photo that you wind up not taking them that much. Take a bunch of photos. When I say a bunch, don't go overboard, but take a good number of photos. Make sure they're in focus. Make sure that that you're getting the kid actually with the ball, as opposed to too late or too early, too late more than likely. But still, they don't have to be magazine quality. This isn't Sports Illustrated. The parents just want to buy photos of their kids. And to be honest, when I see the photos that a lot of parents post online on their social media of their kids that they've taken, I mean, you can't even tell who they're not that great, honestly. You can't even tell that they're human beings sometimes. They're just blobs. So the parents are nowhere near as picky as you, the photographer. Again, I'm not saying be lazy or sloppy, but, they don't have to be works of art. Okay, I'm going to go to part 3. I have 1 or 2 more bullet points and then something to show. So I'll see you in part 3. Sorry this is so long. Bye-bye.